All right, I'm on the phone.
Street light in. You guys need to go watch on YouTube. Yeah, every morning.
I might have you on mute.
Sure you should go to the, how long does it take them to get?
Good evening. I'd like to stand for the pledge, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank the veterans and their families for the sacrifices. The city appreciates it a lot. So before we start, I understand that we have a council member that's got a birthday today.
All right.
So,
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Hattie. Happy birthday to you.
How many followers? Oh.
I'm an old Jack character today at 76.
okay.
And I'm a newcomer too.
All right.
Happy birthday. All right. So, we had to have a special call meeting because there are a few things that need signatures. And I think as all of you know, work sessions we're not allowed to vote on certain items. So this is a special called meeting, and the first one, the council has in their packet a resolution for the solid waste management plan. This would allow me to sign the agreement. I figure when we get down there. But at any rate, this is part of the Northeast Georgia Regional Solid Waste Management Plan, and it's part of the OCGA Section 12-8 -31.1, and this is an agreement that covers for the next 10 years. So this would give me the authority to enter into that, which we do every 10 years. Do I have a motion on the table?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Tammy Sturden.
Tammy, did you vote?
I'm sorry?
Did you vote?
So you had me on mute, which means I can't hear what y'all saying.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No problem.
Well, it's a vote for allowing me to sign an agreement with Northeast Georgia Regional Solid Waste Management Plan. This is something that comes up every 10 years, so it will carry through for the next 10 years.
Okay.
So your vote?
Yay.
Yay?
Yay.
Okay. So I guess you'll have to mute.
Yes, I will.
Sorry.
No problem.
New to this phone thing. All right. So it carries unanimous. Second thing on here is the well development project change order, a proposal for groundwater services. This is to approve additional proposal for groundwater services incorporated, which we contracted with them for the well exploration, which is currently over in the Hillman Park area. And excuse me, it was budgeted and approved for the fiscal 22 budget. for $425,000 for the well development project. And contractor Groundwater Services has been overseeing the project as previously approved by the City Council. While the project moves forward and additional proposals are present, City staff is requesting approval of up to $50,000 more to Groundwater Services to complete this project, plus a contingency of possibly $70,000 for the for unexpected project costs. And in a nutshell, they've put this together. There is a report, and it basically is saying that it is contingent. Each one of these items is contingent whether it moves forward or not, based on the results of each step along this way. So they may wind up doing 3 or 4 of these and be about $14,000 into it and decide it's not viable, or give us the input that this is what it would take, and at that point, then Jordan would come back and say, make the recommendation that it's not a viable option cost-wise, or that it is. Do I have that right? Correct. Okay. So it says up to $50,000, and then our city accountant always likes to have a contingency in case something goes wrong. I feel that this is an investment to keep pursuing this particular site because it is a viable option for the city. Is there any questions from the council on this?
Mayor, we have to do this regardless of where we drill, is that correct?
I believe so. We'll get to a point where, you know, if we go to another site, that they may be in the same situation. Plus, it would be probably $20,000 to start that particular site, and then you'd be back to this point.
Well, my question is, if we continue with it and we come up with another bad test, how much are we gonna put in that hole over there?
Well,
We know the water's contaminated, and we know that there is an option of different treatments. So why are we gonna keep pouring into it?
would you like to answer some of that question?
We want to continue testing. They want to draw it down, see what it's going to yield and constantly yield. And also water quality, once it's down, they can get a hammer in it and do some more testing. And once we get to that point, get those analysis back, that's when we would know when we're going to either proceed forward or stop there and move on to a different location or a different project.
Well, sure they wanna keep doing it, it's more in their pocket. I think we ought to cap things and go over and dredge that lake and go back with our water.
Well, I would agree that the treatment plant is a good option, but we're into this right now, and I would hate to give up where we're at without a little bit more investment.
Well, I would hate to do it too, but I would hate to keep, I mean, we're losing what we put in it, and I'd hate to keep losing. I mean, you know, that's a lot of money.
I
And the
understand.
50,000 don't even include the pump.
Correct, and we may not get to that 50,000, we may not use all these monies up now if it gets to that point after the next round of sampling. If it's
They may do the first 3 and decide that it is not viable.
Yeah, and we'll just.
At which point you're only 14,000 of the 50. But, you know, we could be moved to another location and have the same problem. And my understanding is it's about $2 million to dredge that lake. That's,
Yeah,
yeah, so, you know, 50,000 is not, I mean, that's not even gonna get the rig to do the dredging.
correct, and like I said, if the next sample go around and something else doesn't go right, we will stop production on what we got done now. But we're being where we are,
Where do we get that price for dredging?
We
the engineers.
And, yeah, our engineering groups, looked into it. There was a study done back, several years back, and of course, cost has gone up, so, what may have been $700,000 or $800,000 then is considerably more now. But I honestly can say that 50,000 is not even gonna get the equipment to the lake. And then we have it there, but the city has approved funds to do the wells exploration. And I find it, a good possibility, and that they work with Jordan on a daily basis. And if they decide that it's not a viable option, we're not gonna spend near the 50,000 at that point. We'll have to make a decision to go to the next level or the next site. Did you have a question?
I do. With the amount of money, $425,000 that we set aside for this project, and the amount of money in the CARES Act, that's waiting for, our use, is there a sense of urgency for us to be voting on this in tonight, or can it wait?
Is the rig's still there?
The rig is gone, but they're ready to bring the pump in and start doing more testing whenever the money's get approved.
Okay.
They were going to already
still.
start on it.
Oh, other than a delay, I mean, putting it off and then it delays everything, then you've got to get them, we got to get back on the schedule. I can't say that it's whether somebody lives or dies, but yes.
Yeah, I'd like to point out when council approved the $425,000, it was for the well exploration, which is, is exactly what this is. We're exploring options for different water sources in the city, and when we test drilled 3 different wells, this one was the most viable and had the potential of producing the most water. So at this point in the exploration process, as a means of the city to become more water independent, this is really just, I want to say, kind of part of the process of exploring how much water we can obtain from this one particular well. Yes, it will get to a point where, like Jordan said, that the project may not move forward once they are capable or able to move forward with the steps that they need to be able to get to that point. Hopefully, fingers crossed, even after we get to that point, then they do achieve the amount of water that they expect to get from this well, and then we would continue to move forward. But we brought this to council because it is not that it's an additional expense, it's already in the budgeted exploration amount, but because it is we'll call it a change order, moving forward into the project, it's an additional cost because we're moving forward in the project. So it's essentially a change order, which is why we brought it to council for approval.
How much have we spent out of the $425,000?
I just looked that up for Miss Betty, I think yesterday, and it was $19,552 or right under 20. Yeah.
Which at that point it said up to 20,000 on that
Correct.
agreement. So it may not be a lot, but it is still under what the estimate was at that time.
In your statement, your financial statement that I gave you, it's listed in there exactly. Well, it is under 19, or it is under 25.
Any other questions?
Is this one of the categories that we can spend the CARES Act money on later if we
Yes, water
if we
exploration.
do a budget amendment for water exploration, be in this category of where we're allowed to spend those funds?
Yes, water and sewer projects.
Okay.
Any other questions, concerns? So at this point, is there a motion on the table?
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the change order for groundwater services up to $50,000.
Do I have a second?
Up to 50, not the contingency. The reason why I asked for the
Up to
contingency.
50 and also include contingency of 70,000 for unexpected cost.
Is there a second on the table?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Yay.
Okay. All those opposed? Okay. Next on the agenda is an agreement for reserve sewer capacity. This would give me the authorization to sign an agreement for reserve sewer capacity with the owner and developer Adam Ewing, I'm sorry, of Old Mill Properties for 51 ERUs or 12,750 gallons per day. The total cost to the developer to reserve 51 ERUs would be $229,500, which will be paid directly to the city. Upon receipt of full payment and execution of this agreement, the city will purchase 51 ERUs from Barrow County Water and Sewer Authority, which will be reserved for this development. This development is down by the M&M transmission shop on Atlanta Highway, next to Wander Housing Authority.
Right.
So that everyone is aware of where this is. They want to pay for sewer capacity to guarantee them to be able to move forward on the project, which has already been approved by council. And this will give them the capacity that they'll need for the project.
So basically, we're just locking in the price. They want to lock in the price for the sewer capacity now and pay us now for it so we can reserve. We're just basically locking in their price for them.
Well, that and the agreement is essentially the city is agreeing that when they give us those funds, that those funds will go directly to Barrow County. They can't pay it direct. We would pay it. So it's just an agreement that says they want the sewer capacity. We're going to enter into this that says once we receive the funds, we pass it on. So it's just in one hand and out the other.
Right.
So, and at this point, they just had an increase in their price. So, yeah, it locks it in, but I don't think we foresee another increase for a while. But it just guarantees them that they will have what they need. Any other questions on this? Do I have a motion on the table?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Unanimous. Excuse me. Something that was brought to the table kind of in the 11th hour, and I need to ask to amend our special called meeting to item number 4.
So Mayor, actually, I don't think we can do that because it is an ordinance and requires 2 readings. So we're going to have to amend the work session agenda, read it, and then vote on it at the next meeting.
Okay, I stand corrected. So then, as far as the special called meeting, I guess I ask for a motion for an adjournment.
Make a motion, we adjourn out of the special call meeting.
We have a second, and those in favor? Tammy?
Yes.
Okay. Those
Yes.
unanimous. All right. moving on to the, actual work session. We've already done the Pledge of Allegiance, and, so at this point, we have a couple of reports. And the first one would be the Financial Department. So, Miss April?
I'm sorry. I was looking.
You want to do the financial report, or just want to answer questions that they may have on it?
I can give an overview.
Okay.
Let me pull it up here real quick. This information is provided in your agenda packet. Just to give you some highlights for the month of November. The FY20 audit draft is being completed, and we hope to have the draft financials at the end of this week. I'm not sure, I hadn't heard from her today, I don't believe, so I'm not sure it's going to be end of this week or the first of next, but we are, I want to say, somewhat ahead of schedule because we were hoping to have the draft financials by the end of this year or this month. So right now, we're about 3 weeks ahead of schedule, so, but regardless, I think that we will get that before the end of the year. I've been making some updates to the city's chartered accounts based on the latest edition of the UCOA, which is for local governments that's provided by the Georgia DCA. I hope to have this completed by the end of December and then implemented into our financial software system by March of 2022. The uniform chartered account is like on your financial statement that I had given you are basically the account numbers. So we have to update that along with the DCA requirements. We've had actually a very busy, very busy month. We've applied for multiple grants, which I am proud to say that we did just receive approval a couple of days ago for our first responders grant. That was submitted on October 26th through the Georgia Cares portal. We were approved for $6,459, and those are the first responders grant that goes to full-time police officers employed by the city of Statham in August of 2021. Why they chose August, I don't know, but they did, and we had six full-time police officers at that time, so they will each be receiving this supplemental bonus check from the Georgia CARES Act. A couple of actually three big ones that we had applied for through the American Rescue Plan. One is for water distribution system and sewer collection system improvement, and we applied for this on October 28th to the American Rescue Plan Act. These were additional funds that had come out after the initial American Rescue Plan Act that we received in July. We requested $1.4 million with a city match of $200,000 for a total of $1.6 million for distribution and collection system improvement. So we worked with EMI Engineering on this, and Jordan and I, and we looked at our water and sewer maps throughout the city, and what this grant would do, if we were to receive it, would be to replace the oldest water and sewer distribution lines that we have in the city. But because it is a grant, there is a matching portion, not required, but if you match a certain portion of what you are requesting, then the odds of you receiving that grant are higher. So we are requesting a total of $1.6 million with the city matching $200,000 of that. Another grant that we're that we have applied for on the 26th of October, also submitted to the American Rescue Plan Act, is for our water system improvement. And we requested $2.478 million with a city match of $200,000 for a total of $2.678 million. And this would be to restore the city's water treatment facility and put in a new GAC filtration system and dredge right around the valves that go into the water treatment plant. And that's a big undertaking, but again, we have to try to match something, so we would match 200,000 of that 2.678 million. And then a third grant that we had applied for, which is actually pretty exciting, that U.S. Senator John Ossoff's office, he's part of the Appropriations Committee and works directly with the Water Resources Development Act. And they sent out an email at the very beginning of November, actually it might have been the end of October, but asking for water and sewer projects, which would include dredging of reservoirs and basically clean water. So we took advantage of that, and we had also applied for this grant. We're requesting $1.84 million with a city match of $200,000 for a total of $2.040 million for rehabilitation of the city's water reservoir. The three of these, all of these reviews are still pending, but we did have our first meeting with the folks from from Senator John Ossoff's office. But it was kind of neat because actually we also met with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the USDA, the EPA, the Senator's office, and city staff. So we all sat in this Zoom meeting basically discussing our project. And I had followed up with an email the next day with some supplemental information that I had found that I thought was interesting. There was a project back in 2008 where the USDA and the EPA were looking for projects throughout the state of Georgia to rehabilitate water resources. And of all of the different reservoirs or facilities to receive water, our reservoir was one of the top 20. And moving on from the top 20, we actually became one of 8 in the entire state of Georgia where they did a thorough research and investigation on how to upgrade the reservoir and so on. In 2008, this was a $90 million project. We did not get selected, but the idea behind me sending it to the folks at Senator Ossoff's office was to basically show them that there is significance to this reservoir and how many people it serves and how many people it has the potential of serving. So after all the information was sent and all the supplemental information was sent to them, they actually reached back out to us and want a second meeting. So, which is good. It would be great if we could get all of these different organizations together to help us dredge the entire reservoir.
One question.
Sure.
So if we get this grant for the water resources development, is this improving 54-acre lake and dredging that? Okay, so.
A portion of it, a large portion of it. Because the lake is deeper in areas and very shallow in certain areas.
Yes.
And the areas that are extremely shallow is where we really need to dredge and get all that siltation,
Yes.
sedimentation out. So overall, to dredge that entire lake, it might be $6-7 million, but we're requesting close to, $2 million to get the shallow areas dredged. Now, if it moves on, just by talking with them, we've also, let them know that, of course, we would love to do the entire lake, but, we don't want to be stingy in what we ask for, I don't know.
Right.
But it could lead to that eventually.
Yes.
Especially because now we got so many different organizations involved that they all seem very interested in our reservoir and the service that it has the potential of providing.
How far out will we know?
Honestly, I don't have a clue. I don't know how, it's government, it's red tape. But, I think that I'm hoping that we can at least get some answers in the next couple of months. And I say that because they have so many applications that they have to go through. Yeah. Another grant that I had applied for on October 29th was the Safety and Liability Grant. I wasn't 100% sure whether or not we would get this because we had already spent the money on safety equipment, but I went ahead and I applied for the grant anyway. I applied for about $9,500 worth of reimbursement for safety equipment, the shoring equipment that we've purchased, some hard hats, harnesses, some respirators, when the guys get down and into the trenches, anyway. So I applied for about $9,400, and we actually got approved for $6,300, which is the maximum amount, which is really cool because we have not applied for nor have we received this grant, and I think the last time that I found was in 2013 or 14. So they are going to be sending us a check for $6,300 that reimburses us for a portion of the safety equipment that we purchased. Also, the 2022 LMIG, now, this was me being very hopeful, but I did submit for our LMIG grant on October 29th to GDOT since our FY20 audit is near completion. I received an email stating that it was under review, but because the city is still listed on the Department of Audits as non-compliance, which means that we had not sent in our FY20 audit financials to the DCA yet. They said that we were ineligible. However, we have until February 1st to submit these grants. So as soon as I get the financials from our auditor, I'll go ahead and send them to the DCA, get us off that non-compliance list, and resubmit the LMIG grant, which would be for $40,589. So. And then we sent out a request for proposal for the gravity sewer line replacement project back here between 1st and 2nd Streets behind Casco's. And you can read the information on that. We sent it to the legal organ for advertisement, and the project was budgeted for $250,000, but we're just trying to make sure that we get the most reliable company to come in and perform that project. And last but not least, MuniCode. If you remember, council approved us to clean up our city code of ordinances back in, when was that? Like May of 2020, April or May of 2020. And even then I told you it was about an 18-month project. So we are in the final stages of that, and Jody and I actually have a meeting with the MuniCode's attorney to review our final changes next week. That's something. I think next week. And actually might be tonight. But anyway, so yeah, so we should have our code of ordinances cleaned up by the end of this month, and then on approval in January. So anyway, we've had a very busy November. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you. In your packet, you have a report also from Jordan. Excuse me, to some of the things that they've encountered and dealt with this month. We've been running the limb truck a little bit more often now that we have a few more people on the street department. My hope is to be able to run it 3 times a week, but first of the year will tell the tale. I know at one time it ran 5 days a week, but in the interest of something that gets about 4 miles to the gallon, you can't just be driving it around looking for limbs. So I asked the public to call City Hall, and one of the staff will write up a work order and get you on the list. And if I can do what I'd like to do, and that's run it 3 days a week, we can keep the city looking a little bit better. So your cooperation and help would be greatly appreciated. We've taken care of quite a few boxes of contractor grade trash bags by picking up usually a minimum of twice a week, and we had a couple of weeks where we've had to go around city in all directions, and all of the city garbage cans, empty them and put in new liners. So We had 59 water locates, 33 sewer locates for November. Our spring is tended to on a daily basis, as is all of our, they call them vaults, and they're basically, I guess for lack of technical terms, they're like a storage level that they have to maintain a certain amount of water at all given times, so they check them. As you all know, we're getting water from both Winder and the county, depending on the day and the week, and the conditions. So, we've been setting new water meters. Our fleet of vehicles from our street department as well as our police department are having maintenance done on a scheduled basis and keeping up with necessary repairs to keep our fleet running as efficient as possible. A lot of stuff going on even with the street department. Little humor, and I don't know if anybody knows Bobby, but Bobby don't miss when he shoots. So it says Bobby killed 200 deer and they brought us jerky. And that turkey and dressing was point on. Chief, would you like to you provided us with a report, if there's anything that you'd like to add, or?
No, I think everybody have a copy of the report, and I have nothing to add, at this time. I don't have anything.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and we appreciate your service. City. All right. At this point, I have a blurb that I need to read. This is to explain the zoning public hearing. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight there is a public hearing on applications related to zoning map for the city of Statham. Before we begin the public hearing, I would like to provide both the applicant and members of the public a brief explanation of the procedure for these public hearings. Each application will be heard in the order that they were filed. The city's planning official will first present the staff report on the application, and then the council will have an opportunity to ask any questions of the staff. After the staff has finished, the applicant will be provided 10 minutes to present their case and answer any questions the council may have regarding the project. The applicant may reserve any portion of their 10 minutes for rebuttal and should declare this during their initial presentation. After the applicant has presented, any individual wishing to speak in opposition may present their argument. A total of 10 minutes will be afforded for all individuals wishing to speak, so we would ask the individuals do their best to consolidate their presentation to prevent repetition. The public hearing is not a time for members of the public to ask questions of the applicant or the city council. If there are questions or if members of the public need additional information, the city strongly encourages the applicant and members of the public to meet to discuss the application, the proposed site plan, and any issues related thereto. If the applicant wishes to continue the public hearing to allow for such discussion with the public, we would ask that the applicant make such requests at the beginning of their presentation so as to allow for such continuance. Once the public hearing is conducted, no additional public hearing will be held. Now, the only exception to this is, I believe Ms. April would be able to answer some of the questions However, our planning officer, Jerry Weiss, is available via phone, so anything that Ms. April cannot answer, we have him on standby, and he will be able to participate via the phone. So, first one on the agenda is a rezone of R-21-10. Thomas Holcomb, applicant and property owner, seeks to rezone from SR2 suburban residential to multifamily residential, 0.532 acre map parcel, ST04/08, fronting 112.75 feet of the south side of Jefferson Street, west of the intersection with Village Pass, and fronting 99.93 feet on the north side of 3rd Street. The proposed use division of the property for 2 single-family detached dwellings, and the recommendation with conditions. So the council has this packet, in their packet, I should say. So do we have the applicant here this evening?
Yes, sir.
Oh, there he is. Okay, I was looking.
Okay, if you would, state your name.
Mayor, before we begin, staff report first.
Oh, that's why I pay him. Keeps me in check.
Yes, so, Mr. Holcomb had come to me, him and his son, Chris, had come to me, a couple months ago now, and they have a piece of property that they would like to have subdivided into 2 tracts. The reason for their request is because they basically want to keep it from another structure. Well, I'll just read the summary of the request. The applicant seeks to subdivide the existing .532 acre lot so that another dwelling can be constructed on the property. The applicant submitted an application for a minor subdivision of property on October 12th to divide the tract into 2 lots. Tract 1 is proposed to be .249 acres, and Tract 2 is proposed to be .283 acres. The proposed lot lines do not meet the SR2 minimum lot size requirement square footage. Staff, we informed Mr. Holcomb that it did not meet the minimum requirements for the current SR2 zoning. Therefore, it cannot be approved as proposed. So we advised Mr. Holcomb that the best remedy was to seek a rezone to multifamily residential district, which allows a minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet, which is enough to permit the proposed subdivision into the 2 tracts. Now, with the condition that we limit the use. So the subject property shall be limited to detached single-family uses, including accessory uses and structures. Multifamily residential uses shall not be permitted. So what I learned with this is that rezoning to the proper lot requirements is better for the city than a variance. So we could have asked for a variance with it being in an SR2 based on the lot size that they were requesting. However, after speaking with Mr. Campbell and Mr. White, it is better for the city to rezone the property and just put conditions on the use of its limitations. But Mr. Holcomb is here if you would like to ask him any questions. But he said it is, staff's recommendation is approval with the conditions set forth in the staff report.
I have one question.
Mr. Holcomb.
Should be on the,
No, council questions for staff.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So basically, in order for him to get the requirements met, he's gonna have to go to multifamily,
Correct.
but then the restrictions are they can only build single family in a multifamily zone.
Correct. Yes.
So won't be allowed to build multifamily, we just need to rezone it so it can meet the requirement.
Yes. So the
And
full.
divide the property.
Yes, into
Okay.
two. So, right now, he's got over, just right under an acre, okay, half an acre lot that he wants to just divide into two. And from what I understand, he and his son have been wanting to do this for quite some time. They just want to divide it into two so they can build, or somebody can build a single-family home on the second lot. And to meet the minimum lot requirements, it would be to go to the multifamily. So you are correct. But with the condition.
How many houses are you planning to do?
Just one.
There's one existing.
Yes. Well, there's one existing on the lot now, yes. But after it would be subdivided, then there would be the potential of one more single-family home on that lot.
Other questions for staff? Okay. So this is the applicant's opportunity to speak to the council. You have 10 minutes. You have the clock.
Yes, sir, we just wanted to subdivide that, be able to put another house out there. When we originally bought it, the lady told us that originally it was 2 lots. But at that time, she went to Barrow County and got them, to make it 1 lot. Or, I don't know what her purpose was, but she was just telling me that. And really, I'd just like to get it divided back into 2 lots.
Now can we ask him questions now? Okay, so this lot here, one dwelling faces 3rd Street, is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct? And the one you're proposing to build on would be facing Jefferson, is
Yes,
that
sir.
right? So you're basically have a lot there,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, originally it was 2 lots.
It looks like the lot next to you is divided that way,
Right.
okay? Understand?
Other questions from the council? Okay. At this point, he has the right to reserve time,
He does.
okay? And so I would ask if there is any one that wants to speak in opposition of this request. No opposition, okay. Want to thank you for your time, and this will be voted on 12 days from now,
The 21st.
21st of December.
Okay, thank you.
They'll come before the council and they will make their ruling at that time.
All right, appreciate it.
Well, thank you. The second thing in the packet is an alcohol license application from a Bubba Saeed, I believe you pronounce it. The owner and applicant is Nico Patel, who has applied for a City of Statham alcohol beverage license for retail sales of beer, wine, and distilled spirits. This will be located at 0 Bethlehem Road, Statham, Georgia 30666. Map and parcel number ST05 012 also known as Nico's Fine Wine and Spirits. Anyone have questions on the council as to the location?
Mayor, for the purposes of alcohol permits and alcohol licenses, there is no staff report to, Jared's not preparing county staff report, so, this is, go straight to the applicant for a 10-minute presentation.
Okay. Is the applicant here tonight? Would you, come up in the front and state your name and, you have the 10 minutes?
I'm Nico Patel. My background is I have been in chemistry. Chemical business was my family business, but then for the last 23 years I've been in alcohol beverage business. And I worked in a liquor store in Kanyas before, and then I had my own wine store in Negro for the last 12 years. The way I did it, I was always known for my selection and my service, and I made the place as a destination place. So that's what I'm hoping to do here. If I get the opportunity to open the store here in Statham City, we want to open about 10,000 square feet store, which will make it a fine wine and spirit store with like a best selection around here. Try to make it as a destination place and try to bring enough revenue for the city, anywhere from $200,000+ with our industry, our store, and some restaurant store with other stores. So trying to make something nice in the city if we get the opportunity. That's all good.
Now, you have some pictures here. Are you planning on, it looks like this one has brick facade, rather fancy.
Like that was the store that we had in Snaggle City,
Okay.
and that is where we were allowed to do over there, like wine tastings and all that. So I even, if anyone will let few of my friends here, so I have few customer friends who were just a customer before, but because of the environment that I provided, they are long-time family friends now. They are here. You can ask them anything you want to about what I provided as a service selection and everything. But if I'm allowed to, that's what we try to make it as a fine establishment.
Make it as a,
Fine establishment providing
okay.
the fine space.
Now, these pictures show chairs in here located.
Right. We
Table.
had wine tastings and all that, so we had sitting place over there. So I was just trying to make the place most comfortable to everyone.
So you're gonna be serving wine also, or does that?
That is the separate license, I guess. If I'm allowed to do that, then it would be. But as a liquor, as a wine and spirit, we will just do the retail. So we will just sell it by the package. Because I believe by the state law, if I want to serve it, like it's a tasting, so when we were doing tasting,
Yes.
we had to do chairs and all them to sit up there.
So this picture here, is this the picture of people consuming alcohol on the premises?
Right, yeah, as a part of tasting, when we do tasting, that's when they had the glasses. We were using the real glasses and everything, so it was a picture of the tasting time. We were allowed to do once a week tasting.
Mr. Patel, you're not requesting a wine consumption license for tasting, though, is that correct?
No, just a retail.
So those pictures were just an example.
That's example what I had back in the snake.
I have one other question.
Yes.
Looking at the diagram of the site, is there enough room for parking here for this?
Yes, sir. So if you allow, I have my architect, Mr. Bramlett, and he has to diagram and design of how everything's going to be placed on a lot.
It's permitted. Nico asked me the same question. And, it's asked us to prepare a site development diagram showing how it meets city standards. So we're prepared to roll that out and share it if needed.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure it's correct, correct procedures. Mayor, I'll roll it out here in front of you. I wish I had an easel to show it on, but this is hot off the press. Here is the adjacent, the existing DG store. We're trying to come across the Highway 211, maintain that same line of storefront. Here's the required amount of parking, and there are key notes as to the number of parking spaces over here as well. But there's also a notation here, the required number of parking spaces, and where this number shown meets those requirements. Because the site also has certain setbacks in certain areas, and all these key notes are straight out of this Statham ordinance. I'll show you just a second. I can email you a copy of this if you like.
I can put another copy and submit it with my application.
I'm sure you'll want it, but it's part of your record.
Yeah, you can send it.
Behind the ice.
Shaved ice, yeah. This
Shaved
would be shaved ice. This is
Right
the
behind
little
the state ice.
car lot for sale. Yeah.
And there will be planning separating the parking lot from the rear of the store. So, it's gonna be, hopes to be turned into a rather nice little retail node right there across from DG, Dollar General store. We have actually had 2 or 3 of these type stores requested of us lately. One of the things that Nico asked me to do, because he was looking for a little bit more upscale look, he asked me to bring this store that we're doing for the city of Dalton, kind of give you an idea about what that size store can look like as part of an upscale facility. It won't just be a typical pre-engineered building with a blank facade. It will be a little bit more upscale. In fact, this particular owner actually asked to have a 100-seat event hall adjacent to his facility that he develops as a retail center, and then the area is leased by people who are treated as an independent tenant. That allows him to be at that area, exposed to those people, but not serving alcohol directly to those people. But that is, the city of Dalton is not necessarily what Nico has in mind, but Nico did want you to see the aesthetic or the look of the building, to let you know that he has an upscale facility planned for his upscale service. And I'm going to leave this to you. If you need additional copy.
Any other questions the council might have?
Mayor, I have one other question, that this kind of goes towards staff. Everyone that's working in the establishment, they have to be checked out by law enforcement, is that correct?
Yes. Our alcohol ordinance requires that all employees have background checks and meet certain requirements. If you'd like, I'm happy to give you the citation for the code. Literally, was just looking it up.
Good. That's all I have, Mayor.
Do I call for opposition or?
I believe that there's an individual signed to speak in favor of the applicant. That would be part of the 10-minute time of the applicant.
Are you done with questions? Council has no more questions?
Can't remember your name, but yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Robin Martinelli. Thank you for your service here. Nico is in the service business too. All of his friends are here, all lined up in the back. So my family is retired law enforcement. My husband is a corporal. My daughter's a corporal in Winder. My oldest daughter's a Decatur PD. I own and operate a private investigation business. I will personally be doing all the background checks that need to be done for liquor or anybody that's working there. That's what my company does as a private investigator. I live in Auburn, Georgia at 404 Gladiola Drive, and we're all here to support Statham. I also want to know, I just heard y'all needed about $400,000 to go into some grants. So I can't tell you how many times, as an amputee, I don't have my left leg, that I sat in Nico's place and liquor people coming in and out, nice people, and dollars just went out the door. I can't tell you, I have an office in Loganville, how much money Loganville makes off their 7+ stores, and they're very nice, and it's so much money for the city to give to y'all. And we have a big, big family, everybody right here, plus we couldn't even fit in this room, would have all been here, and we want to support Statham, we want to support the city, we want to move everything out here and make it a great establishment and give the money to liquor sales, which would be a lot of money. When we approached Snellville, it was over $1 million in just a half a year of liquor sales that go to the city, and that was just Nico's little store. So we want to help Nico in any way. I will make sure as private investigator that all the backgrounds are ran to the specificity that y'all need for a liquor license. I will make sure that it's up to code or whatever y'all need, everybody working there. I'll make sure the applicants have a background check and a further background check even out of the state of Georgia. And any way we can help this establishment, we are really looking forward to it. We're very excited, and I know that y'all will get one of a kind that's not in the state of Georgia. So it is not just a liquor store, it is a home, and we want to bring it to y'all.
Anybody know any sides in favor, so now, anyone want to speak in opposition or anything?
Okay. Any opposition at this point? Okay. Well, thank you all very much. And any,
Can we ask questions?
If you guys like to, I mean, if anyone want to know more about what I did or what I will do, what I will bring to the city, I have, let's say, he's from the liquor industry, who known me for what I do for a long time, like 12+ years, and all my customer friends here, they tell that they were customers with their family friends, so you can ask them anything, or if you allow them to talk, just speak for a couple of minutes, they will give you just the idea of what we're going to bring in the city.
Counselor, where do we stand on the time?
We have 2 minutes left.
Hi, hello, my name's Russell Krieger. I live out there back north of Coney High School. I'll make this brief. I've been working in the industry for 20+ years, and I've been working with Nico for 6 of it, and I currently work for a distributor as a salesperson, and I can vouch for the upscale nature of his store. I can attest to the amount of family that he brings with him, where people will travel further distances to come to the town, whether it be, cross-reference business to some eating establishments and whatnot as well. And so I look forward to seeing his new store in action, and really appreciate everybody's time.
Dr. Davis?
30 seconds. Trevor. So David Hallfield, I'm the land citizen and medical doctor, but just to be clear, what he wants to bring is not a liquor store so much as a wine establishment. He's provided his expertise. He's an expert in wine and other liquors. He provides a service for those of us who like fine wine and who are connoisseurs. So he's not looking for common clientele. He'll develop something special that will please the people who are bringing money to this town. So I hope I can encourage your perspective on that.
Can I make a comment?
So again, as the mayor stated during his opening, this is not a time for, if there's a statement in opposition, there's opposition, there's statement in favor, there's 32 seconds left. And if there are questions, we encourage the questions to be asked of the applicant outside city council, period. This is a public hearing for the city council purposes, to hear comment from the public for or against.
Council brings the community together. I mean, we all really met through Nico, and we're all really family. We attend each other's children's weddings, holidays together, and that's why we're here today to support it.
Thank you very much. would encourage you to reach out and ask your questions directly. I'm sure you would be willing to do so. And I guess at this point, we need to move on to the next item.
Need a motion to close the public hearing.
Do we have a motion?
Jody, do we need to amend the agenda for the public hearing?
No, we will amend the discussion items.
Okay. Motion to close the public hearing.
All those in favor?
Tammy?
Tammy?
Yeah, sorry.
Close the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. As far as the discussion items, the first one on the agenda is a rezone for...
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Rezone for R-21-08 Presidential Oak Property LLC by Mitchell Trust, applicant Margaret Ann Hamway, property owner, to seek to rezone the property 9 acres fronting the south side of Atlanta Highway, southeast, and the west side of Mulberry Street, part of map parcel ST02/029, from SR1 suburban residential to multifamily residential district. Proposed use 62 fee simple townhouses. In our packet, we received something today from Rosen and Rosen LLP. We also received a thing from Barrow County School Systems about their take on the impact. I've read through the Rosen and Rosen, and I've read through the original, and quite frankly, it's more legal than I understand, so.
Mayor, in light of the substantial submission that was made on December the 8th by counsel for the applicant, even though this is not a public hearing, the advice of counsel is that the city proceed in a similar fashion to a zoning public hearing where the applicant has 10 minutes to present, especially in light of the substantial changes from the original application, and then that opposition be given 10 minutes as well to offer any comments, any input, any thoughts. So at this time, my recommendation is to allow the applicant 10 minutes to present the amended version of the proposal.
Are you,
We're ready, I just
okay.
want to make sure we have permission to do that.
Okay.
And I come with an easel tonight. Ready when you are, Mr. Mayor. Mayor and Council, thank you. Adam Rosen again, here on behalf of Presidential Oaks Properties, as your applicant in these two rezoning applications. Thank you for accommodating us to have a hearing, or at least present to you tonight. This is the second time this has been before you for a work session. After that work session, your staff revised its recommendations. We were then before you for your last voting agenda in November. We revised our plan to meet that revised recommendation from staff. But at that time, I have not had the opportunity to meet with the community, so we asked for the additional time to be able to do that. So we first of all appreciate you letting us take the time to do that. We were able to have a meeting last week at the community center. So thank you again. You let us use the community center for that purpose. And I think we had most of the folks in this room, 10 to 15 or so. So I can't say that they all love me yet or anything, but I think it was productive and it was a good opportunity for everybody to be able to see the revisions from that night, and talk through it as much as we could at that time. We did not revise the plan before that night. We left it the same as what it was at the last hearing. The plan that we submitted to you yesterday with our stipulation letter and example renderings is revised from the last time we were before you, so I'm going to quickly go through those, and then I can probably try to shed some light on the letter and simplify it. But as far as the site plan is concerned, one of the major changes from the initial submittal was removing the entrance on Mulberry Street. So the only access to the development is on Atlanta Highway. So we've kept that, and that's not going to change. We also at that time showed dedication of our property to allow for additional right-of-way to be donated to the city at no cost. And so we show that on our plan. I think at that time we had also added landscaping along that border, along Mulberry Street. And just kind of overall, you'll see landscape buffer around the entire perimeter. We don't show trees everywhere yet, but you can see that it's labeled as natural buffer all the way around. The 20-foot buffer that we show is the ordinance required 20-foot buffer for us as our new zoning with multifamily adjoining residential that's not NFR. That's the 20-foot buffer that's required. And I think some of that was already shown before, but it's at least more clear now. One thing that was discussed was the detention facility. The site's relatively flat, but our engineers tell us that it flows towards the front, so it's been along Atlanta Highway. One of the requests that was made was to make this corner of the detention pond so that it provided more buffering for the residents on Mulberry, whether they're right here or if that's their entrance to get back to their homes further down. So we moved that over, shifted one of the commercial pieces over, and we've included in our letter that this the detention facility will be fenced and landscaped. So on Atlanta Highway, you're going to see landscaping and a fence, not the detention facility itself. One of the other things that's been discussed is whether there will be an association to govern and take the ownership for the operations of the common space and the water quality. That's in our letter as well, that there will be a mandatory association, that it will keep the responsibility of the detention. I know in the past, sometimes it's been offered to give to the city, and that's not something that's being proposed. Instead, the association will keep the maintenance of that facility. And anything that's association mandated like that, you'll see in our letter that we also said that would be recorded in part of the covenants, which will be referenced in any of the deeds. So any ownership transitions over the years is going to be binding on the owners, as well as a condition in our stipulation letter. We changed this parcel to office institutional. This showing highway business is not correct, but our letter shows it correctly as office institutional. So that's something that we'll revise before your final vote, just to make sure you understand we're not going back on that. That's office institutional, and will stay that way. These two are to remain the highway business that were originally proposed. One thing to remember is that all of this under your future land use map is highway business, but we're only leaving these two as that, instead transitioning from our residential to commercial to Atlanta Highway. If you continue to go around the site plan, you can see the buffer around this remaining commercial on the corner. We've also included in our stipulation letter the staff recommended prohibited uses. So although this would be zoned highway business, there's a number, 20 or so uses that staff recommended that we adopted that would be prohibited from ever being. So automotive uses and a number of others. And some of those were ones that were requested from our meeting last week. Once you look into the residential, you'll see we changed to actually show the lot lines for each of the townhomes. And when we moved the entrance over, it reconfigured it a little bit, so the home locations are a little bit different from where they were before. But still the same common space corners that we've had before. And, you know, one of the questions has been, well, what are these residents gonna do? There's no pool, there's no tennis court, you know, there's no activities for them, but there's some meaningful common space here that can be, fire pit area, it can be playground, it can be whatever the association decides to be there. But usually you're not able to support a swimming pool, tennis court, unless you get into a higher number, 100 units or more, something that is not putting a burden, not on the developer, but on the association to be able to afford for years to come. If they can't afford it, it falls into disrepair. So we're not really at that level, but we do think that it will be, you know, meaningful for them to have the common space, and of course this is to be maintained by the association itself. And then continue around the south portion of the site, the buffer there, and we've also conditioned that we would put a fence, a privacy fence here along the southern portion of the site as well. Also submitted yesterday are the renderings. These are some that your applicant has provided to show you not only an example of the quality, but also included in here to say, if we're allowed to build, we're going to build something similar to this quality. So when they come back through the process with city staff, for example, this is all brick front. If they don't show something that has similar architectural quality, staff can say, you're not providing us with what you promised before. So this is to show you that as an example, but also to bind them to something of that quality. These are just some examples, and these are some that were submitted yesterday. As far as the letter itself, I think most of the changes of the site plan are covered in here. We did also include a self-imposed rental restriction. Your ordinance doesn't otherwise have one that would be required, but we've included that in our stipulation letter. And again, binding on us by way of being a stipulation if you were to approve this case, but also we've stated in here that it would be included with the covenants and a part of the title to every unit for the future. The letter has 3 different sections, one tailored to the residential, one for the commercial, and then some that are conditions that are applicable to both. So what we've tried to do is, as far as trying to simplify the letter, I know it's long and there's 20 stipulations in it, but what we're trying to do is to make sure that you understand that what we're showing here and here, they're going to be required to do if they're allowed to develop. Mitchell would be the builder. He's a builder, a contractor, and so he's not just here to develop or zone and walk away. So he's promising to do this. We're putting it into the stipulation letter to show that if you were to adopt it, we'd be bound to meet those requirements. So, Ms. Hamway, our owner, is here.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan, the engineer, I don't think is here, but if there's any questions that we can answer, we'd be happy to do that. We do show, and I did not pick this up in my letter, and I apologize, but we do show a reduction from 62 units down to 56 there on the site plan. I think those are the changes from then to now. And if I have any time left, then I probably don't have any time.
20 seconds.
20 seconds left, I'll reserve. I'll leave that there. But thank you.
Opposition at this point, 10 minutes.
Ms. King, Mr. King.
My name is Joan King, my husband Larry King, and we live on Mulberry Street in Statham. And I have the same opposition that I've had before, that 56 homes now still comprises way too many cars and too many water usages added to the property to Statham. We don't have the infrastructure to support that sort of construction, or the school zones where there's it's just way too many. And I do appreciate all the changes that you made. I like the back then and for not using the Mulberry Street. However, I still believe that our dirt road part of Mulberry Street will become a playground for the kids out on the, that don't have a place to go, especially when their parents are working 2 jobs to pay for a $300,000 townhouse that's on 2,400 square foot lot.
Ms. King, if you'll address the council and.
Well, anyway, I'm addressing the people.
Okay, I'm sorry, thank you.
And instead of, I mean, the lot size for one of those townhouses is 2,400 square feet. Most of our homes are that's the whole lot size, and then the apartment or house, townhouse is a little over 1,700 square feet. So there's not any kind of accommodation for a yard. A common place is not a place where children go play out in their backyard, you know, where mama can open the door and your kids go out and play. So they're anticipating it being, you know, a lot of young people that never plan to have children, but, you know, plans change. And then, so then there's just no accommodation really for a real family that's going to be improving our area. So it eventually, whether it's 35%, and I'm not sure who's going to keep up with the 35% is allowed to become a rental, when, so somebody's going to keep track of the numbers. Oh, you can't rent, that's because he did. So anyway, I'm still against it. It's just way too many. The road, the Price Street, when people come out onto the Atlanta Highway, they're going to need to go to 316 probably to go to work, for those that don't work in Winder. And they're going to see that one red light that goes to 211. There's 2 or 3 diesel trucks backed up there already, so they're going to take the shortcut down Price Street. And Statham does not have the money. We don't upkeep our roads very well as it is now because of infrastructure problems. And Price Street is, you put 150 cars on there day in and day out, day in and day out. It's just a road away. So it's just not, anyway, so no.
Ms. Wells?
I'm Phyllis Wells, and I agree with Ms. King on the points that she made. We have to keep in mind that we already have approved 50 homes on Sunset, and when we add the 56 townhomes to that 50, you're talking about 106 new homes in a very small area. And I believe when we were at our meeting last week, there was a discussion about each home is allowed or expected to have like 2.5 cars. I don't know how you have to have a car, but anyway. So at the calculation of 62 townhomes with the 50 homes that are going on Sunset, that would be 280 cars added to our little streets we have. And I was coming in from work. I work at UGA. I came through Statham just a little while ago. Traffic was so backed up. It was backed up out past the dollar store where this new business is going to be coming in, and you know, it was backed up past the Dollar General. I mean, you still add 280 cars, you know, let's say 50 of those may be coming in about that time. There's just going to be too much traffic, too many traffic jams. The water, just hearing you all talk about your issues with water now, I mean, when we're adding 106 homes into that small area there, and sewage and the schools, I just don't think it makes sense for Statham right now. And I think that, I understand that Ms. Hamway needs, you know, sell her land. There are other things that could be done. I think a very nice subdivision could go in there if they had 1 acre lots, you know, put you 9 homes in there or whatever. I think that would make a very pretty, I know someone who bought a house in a neighborhood where it was an old pecan orchard, and it was beautiful. Very nice houses, people loved it. It's a very beautiful community. I think that would be a much better option for that land. I'm not asking that, you know, Ms. Hamlin not do anything with it, but that's just too many homes to go on that property. I still oppose it.
That was it, Mayor.
I put his name too.
Yeah, did you want to speak? I'm sorry. I thought you were speaking for both of you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Mr. King.
That's no problem.
as you well know, I don't necessarily agree with this project. Great concept, wrong location. And you've heard location, location, location. Yes, it is. It's a great concept. They've made some changes, fantastic. I appreciate that. But with the congestion that we've absorbed now, is it the right place for this additional growth? It's already pretty hard getting out on Atlanta Highway, or even getting out on 316, and I'm right there on Price, as it is now. I'll sit there for 5-10 minutes some days just trying to get out on Atlanta Highway, because we got a lot of growth to going out Dooleytown. We got a lot of road going out 211 this way, Jefferson Street. There's a lot of new subdivisions that's there. It's already where people are going to have to access 316. We got the bypass coming in on 316. All that development's going to take care of that, which is going to congest even more. So, like I say, wrong location.
That's all the concept. I apologize if you.
That's no problem.
I guess we move on to.
So, you want 20 seconds?
Sure, I can't leave that on. The parking calculation was, I think, to clarify that we do have guest parking. Often the concern is there enough length in the driveway so the cars don't stick out into the sidewalk or into the street, and so we have to accommodate on a ratio of parking per overall unit, and so we were speaking to meeting that, with the length of the driveways being well over the required 20 feet and having the guest parking. And so I think that clarified that, not that we would expect that we have that many cars at all times, of course, but, and you have a couple different markets and buyers, and you do have backyards with these lots divided the way that we have that now. So I think that addresses some of those other concerns. Thank you.
All right. I guess moving on to rezone R-21-09, Presidential Oak Properties LLC, Mitchell Trust, applicant Margaret M. Hamway. Property owner seeks to rezone 2.6 acres fronting on the south side of Atlanta Highway, the map parcel of ST01/024, part of ST02/029, ST01/025A, and ST01/025 from SR1 Suburban Residential to Highway Business District, the proposed use of commercial. At the previous regular meeting, the applicant has requested tract 3 to be rezoned as OI based on public comment. I believe most of this was already covered, but I would think that we still.
They are separate applications and they're separate proposed rezoning districts, so to the extent there's new information relative to the commercial rezone request along Highway 29, my suggestion is that we follow the same procedure.
So it would be 10 minutes afforded to you to present that portion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I won't take 10 minutes other than to make sure that we're clear on what we had asked to change before, was for this one to change to office institutional, these to remain highway business, and adopting those prohibited uses. I don't think there's anything, and shifting the locations, of course, to move the detention. Other than that, there's no changes to that area of it. We do feel like it could be, with office institutional, with this highway business, with as many prohibited uses, a great, not only neighborhood retail type environment for the city being close to downtown, but also for this development itself, for them to be able to walk to a restaurant or a coffee shop or something in their own neighborhood right here. Otherwise, no changes here other than repositioning the office institutional here. So, thank you.
I would guess that he has
I would
some
like to,
reserve, so that she would be part of his time. Okay,
Okay.
just clarifying.
Yes, as far as the land use goes for, the map that you have that's on the, internet regarding Statham's future use, this is in accordance with what is planned. So, you know, yes, we're looking at it today, but we're also looking to the future. And so I just want to point that out. So some of us may not be aware of that, and some of us are. So, thank you.
So at this point, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition of rezone R-21-09?
I would like to, feel as well, same issue. I just think that, you know, the traffic issue that's a problem. And, I wasn't aware of, land along the Atlanta Highway being, specifically set aside for businesses only. I guess I'm not supposed to ask questions, but I was just confused about that. So if someone wanted to buy that property and build a house on it, would that not be allowed because Statham wants businesses all along the Atlanta Highway? I'm just not sure that, you know, I'm not sure that that is like something that is set in stone. And, but my same issue goes back to the traffic and, you know, wanting to make sure that something doesn't happen along the way and businesses that we, you know, would bring our community down go into those buildings.
Thank you.
I just ask that we think about the community impact of what's there and of not knowing right that it's a change is scary. And not knowing what's going to result from that, we're worried about the impact of the decision that y'all make. It's confirmed. Most of us have been there for over 30 years. And, you know, we just ask that you consider what the impact is of the decisions you make. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to know, are there any turn lanes planned to widen where turning traffic can pull off to the side to get in, or is it gonna stop the whole line of traffic anytime anybody wants to pull in and out of there?
We have a deceleration.
It's required.
But is that on both sides of the road? Yes, but if people are going that way, towards Winder, and they'll stop traffic and they're trying to get across.
Mayor, again, questions are not, this is not time for questions, this is time for discussion and arguments in favor or opposed. Questions need to be handled outside of the public hearing.
Do I have time?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll wait until.
Any other comments, concerns from the public? And I would say.
Mayor, the applicant has time for rebuttal, and has asked for it.
And I'll just, I think to answer and maybe clarify a few things. Yes, in our letter, we do adopt what staff recommended as far as a deceleration lane into the site. And I think the way that staff wrote the recommendation is a deceleration lane for an additional lane, so that traffic coming in does not back up Atlanta Highway. I don't specifically remember if there is an acceleration lane out,
Yeah.
but we've included whatever staff's recommendation was. And then the other helping point about traffic is having this limited access, and then you see he's labeled here interparcel access required. So the idea is to have these parcels access each other without having separate driveways all along Atlanta Highway. For the future land use map, you're right that it doesn't dictate that all of this be highway business. It just shows that the city council has at some point adopted a future plan that says that all of our property is expected in the future to be highway business, so that as far as these being highway business are appropriate, technically, I guess, maybe the residential is not appropriate with highway business, but we felt like that was an appropriate transition from a larger lot, single-family detached, to a little more density to commercial. So I think that maybe helps answer that question. That's all we got.
I'm not sure, but I just wanted to clarify that that's on our future land use. It allows for highway business or office industrial, but also that would still be SR1 designation. So it's not that whole tract on the future land. It would be a portion at the front, which is what you're allowing for, right?
No, actually, the future land use is highway business.
All, that entire
Yes,
section?
it is.
Does-
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, sure.
And then I stand corrected. Any other,
Thank you, we appreciate the time.
so, I guess at this point, we move on to the next item for discussion, and that is preliminary plat. It's actually more of an application for preliminary plat, approval for Statham Place. This is Solon Engineering LLC, an applicant, and MHC of Georgia LLC, property owner. It's 36 lots on 48.10 acres fronting on the southeast side of Dooleytown Road, part of map and parcel ST04/095C and ST04/095. This is the tract of land behind the 10 units being built on 211, heading out of town. Is the applicant here?
No, this was tabled from last month, if you remember.
Okay.
This was, this particular development was, staff's, recommendation to table this because of the issues that we are having with those 10 lots, on the front that we put the stop work orders on. Those stop work orders are still current. They have not been, doing any work on those lots that we put the stop work orders on. Now that they've disturbed more than 1 acre, they have to go through the EPD and the land disturbance permit. So, I'm not for sure where they are in that process, but, again, that's, that's a government that takes their time of getting things done. So, in the meantime, because that tract of land, is right, sits right behind these 10 lots, and they are the same property owner and the same developer, that we're still just kind of asking for this to remain tabled until we get the front 10 figured out, and we get more of an idea and, of what it is that they're going to need to do to complete those 10 lots now at this point in time.
Thank you.
And this is the plot where they were burying the, construction debris?
Yes, there were lots of problems that we were having with those front 10 lots.
Yes.
But they but the builders started disturbing this tract of land, ahead of any permits. They had dug a huge hole back there. They were pulling dirt from that lot and bringing it up to the 10 lots there in the front. So there's just too much going on for us to feel comfortable enough to approve this preliminary plat at this point. Because once we approve the preliminary plat, then it makes them go ahead and move forward with putting in a lot of the infrastructure. So that's, we just want to be, cautious moving forward with this project.
All right. Next on the list is workers' compensation coverage. This is to approve the city to remain with their current workers' compensation carrier, Georgia Municipal Association, GERMA, Georgia Interlocal Risk Management Agency for the calendar year of 2022, beginning January 1, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. Staff has obtained 5 policy quotes. GERMA, 31,526, BITCO, 30,986, National Liability and Fire Insurance Company, 29,777, and Traveler Insurance Company declined. Amtrust Insurance Company also declined. Each proposal is an estimated premium. The final adjustments will be made after the annual WC audit. The city accountant will budget for potential adjustments, which is based on payroll. Staff's recommendation is to stay with GMA for longevity purposes and benefits offered by GMA, not offered by other carriers. So, as you can see in the paper that was in your packet, they are not the least expensive, but there are other benefits. And if you have questions, I'm sure Ms. April, who has been more involved with this, would be able to answer.
Nothing's changed in GERMA's proposed coverage.
It's actually decreased significantly. So interestingly, after I obtained all of these quotes, I was still waiting on GERMA. GERMA is pretty notorious for submitting their renewal rates mid-December, which is 2 weeks before the renewal begins. So I was waiting on only GERMA's to get their renewal rates. And last year they were around $53,000. So I was fully expecting them to be significantly more than all of the other proposals. So my initial recommendation was to actually go with BITCO. And the reason why my initial recommendation was to go with BITCO is because they have a local claims office. And that's kind of nice when you're wanting to deal with a workers' comp claim or something like that, that you have somebody that's relatively close. But then I reached out to GERMA and GMA, and I just said, hey, we have a council meeting, on Thursday. I need this by tomorrow. And they sent it to me that day. And when I received it, I was very surprised that it was down to $31,526. Now, that probably has a lot to do with we have not had any workers' comp claims, I don't think, since 2018. We've had a couple, but they were denied. But, and I think honestly a lot of it has to do with because any time that we go out to solicit proposals from other companies, we have to give them like a 120-day notice. So I had to write a formal letter to GMA letting them know that I was just going to go out there and solicit bids and proposals for workers' compensation. So I think twofold. I think because we have not had any claims and because they knew that we were out there looking, that they've adjusted their rates to be more competitive. And after I, really you kind of sit down and you take a look at all the numbers, staff time that it's gonna take to change everything over. We've been with GMA for a long time. There are added benefits and additional grants that GMA offers by being a member with them and by utilizing their property and liability and their workers' comp. It would have to be a significant savings for us to recommend changing, and this is not a significant savings over the grand scheme of things, So, I feel at this point that they've been good with us, we've never had an issue with them, and, for a, $500 difference in expense, it's just not worth the $500.
Any other questions for staff? All right. Moving on to number 5 is Axion Agreement for Police Protection Equipment. This would authorize the mayor to sign an updated agreement with Axion or Axon, I guess it is, for new and upgraded tasers for police officers. Updated agreement includes cartridges, and the new tasers have the latest technology. The current agreement does not include the expense of taser cartridges, and the technology is outdated by approximately 10 years. So the total cost of the agreement is $18,580.96, or about $3,716.19 per year for 5 years. And the city would have to pay Axon $2,212 to capture the remaining value owed from previous hardware. So Captain Davis has done a considerable amount of investigation on this. If there's any questions that you have, I'm sure that he could answer those questions. I know he's explained it to me. One of the biggest advantages is what we have now is a single head that discharges. If you miss, you're in pursuit. Doesn't give you a lot of time to reload. The new one would have 2 sets, so it would be a double. So if you would like to take it from there and explain the gist of it.
All right. As far as what the mayor was saying, we carry the taser, electronic control weapon. What that does is it decapacitates the person until we can control them if they're irate, combative, something of that nature. The one we currently have, like you stated, technology is 10 years old. The newer ones, they're actually, Axon always tries to make their devices more safe by research and development. This unit that we carry now, it has 1 cartridge that shoots out 2 probes. With this device, if you aim it at a suspect, you fire the device, only 1 probe makes contact, nothing happens to them. You actually have to reload the device, put another cartridge on, and try to deploy it, and be lucky if you get both of those. None of our officers currently carry a second cartridge on their person. They're in the car in case we deploy and have to reload it later on so we can continue on with our night. The new devices, they actually have 2 cartridges vertically inserted in the device. They have cross-connect technology, and what that does is I can deploy a cartridge into a suspect. If I only get 1 probe in, I can deploy the second cartridge. If I only get 1 probe in there, those 2 connect. So it's an immediate catch-up from where we failed to actually hit the suspect the first time. It's an officer safety thing. It's a real big issue. We've had officers in foot pursuits try to, save somebody as they're moving. They're not going to hit 2 probes into a moving target. It's just not going to happen. Plus, the way they explained right now, the old account that we were in with Exxon with these taser devices, we have 7 or 8 cartridges left out of that box that came with the devices. We don't deploy very often, but we do have to shoot 2 cartridges apiece to train every year to keep our certification valid. Right now, if I have to turn around and buy new cartridges, I'm looking at $2,000 in cartridges this year to supply us with what we need moving forward for training and service for duty. So that is gonna be a yearly cost for additional cartridges. The contract that we're looking at going to now pretty much has lifetime cartridges, a full 5-year contract. It comes with 170 cartridges. They're under warranty, there's new upgraded docking. These devices actually keep and hold information every time they're, armed, every time the trigger's pulled, how long the trigger's pulled, all that information is stored. Right now, the guys have to bring me their device. I have to put it to a cable, I have to put it in the computer, and it has to upload manually. These guys now, if we get this new device, they can actually put their battery into a docking station, and it'll automatically upload all their information from that, and it will also upgrade their firmware. I had to pull an officer off the road today to bring his device, so I could upload and upgrade his firmware on his device. That'll save officers hours, it'll keep them on the road. So there's many, many benefits in this new contract.
Any questions?
I would like to point out that, by going to this new contract, it does require a budget amendment, which we're going to be doing a budget amendment anyway, after the first of the year, but we would need to amend, this particular line item to reflect this new contract.
What's the budget amendment for the first of the year?
I'm sorry?
The first of the year, what is that for?
Well, it's probably not going to be until probably March, well, first we have to include the CARES Act money into the budget, and it's just, we're going to have a lot of changes with revenue, I'm not sure if we're going to be selling or trying to sell the building across the street, the Public Works building, so I think, it's just, we're going to have to do a budget amendment.
Has anyone shown interest in buying?
Is it listed? Is the building listed?
Oh, I don't know, I haven't had anything to do with that project.
It's not listed?
We have to have appraisals to do that. So I have not had an opportunity. Any other questions in reference to this? Okay, well, thank you. Also, in your packets, you have the 2022 City Council meeting calendar, both in a printed form and in a calendar form. And also the 2022 holiday schedule in its entirety and their dates. At this time, we have to do a budget, amendment to the agenda, to put line item 8. This has to do with the first reading for the GDOT permits that allow citywide use of radar as well as LiDAR. This also encompasses the permits that are necessary for Blue Line Solutions to complete the work on the Bear Creek Middle School, as well as the elementary school on Broad Street, for those devices to be allowed to be used.
Mayor, if you want to, I'm happy to explain what's going on here and why we have this before council. But before we do that, we need a motion to amend the agenda, second vote, and then I can explain.
Motion to amend the agenda.
All those in favor? Sam?
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So this, we've already, as y'all recall, we've already approved the reduction in the speed limit on Broad Street. We also approved the Blue Line project. And the ordinance to approve the reduction in the speed limit for Broad Street authorized the mayor to sign this. We gave it to GDOT. GDOT sent it back to us, and we received it yesterday?
A couple of days ago.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they made some additional changes themselves, not at our request. And because of those changes, in order to make sure that this is valid and there's no loopholes or argument that the mayor signed it without council approval, we just need the council to bless this one more time for the mayor to honor that. So there have been, the only changes are items that you've already seen before, it's just packaged differently the way you got it.
And it wasn't as straightforward as the first time I had the authority to sign. And that primarily was for Broad Street from Deweytown to 8th Street. But they also included in Jefferson for Bear Creek. And they encompassed all of our road systems. So, again, to reiterate, Counselor felt that it covered a little broader spectrum and therefore would require council approval. So you get an opportunity to look through that. We will vote on that in 12 days. At this point, is there any other citizen input? Anyone signed up for general input? Okay. Then I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the draft minutes from November 16, 2021, unless there are amendments or changes, corrections to that.
Motion to approve the November 16th, 2021 minutes as written.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Okay, unanimous. And at this point, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn. We have Hattie, and the second is Dwight. And all those in favor?
Yes.
It is unanimous. I want to thank everyone for coming, giving us your time, and we will see you in other meetings. Thank you.
You must have work, okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.